Welcome to the day after talking Duck sports. I'm the War Duck, and so I know we had the football game, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about, since I talk about a lot of Duck sports, is we're going to talk about volleyball. Volleyball won their first match. They in the second round they played Michigan. They won that one, and so now they're on to the third round, and they play Purdue. Um, their schedule thing is not really available, so I don't know when that game is, but Oregon is still moving on. And in fact, I think there's three Pac-12 schools: Stanford, Arizona State, and Oregon still in it. There may be more, but like I said, they don't. It's not really on like the ESPN site with all the other sports, so it's kind of hard to keep track of. And since those are on ESPN Plus, I couldn't really watch them, so I kind of read the thing. Oregon against Hawaii got down. It was like 13-5. Roared back, won the first set, won the second set, won the third set, got the sweep. They've been playing really well, so it should be a good match against them in Purdue. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the next thing up, and that is Oregon took on Michigan at home. This game was a long time coming. There was some contract disputes because Oregon went to Michigan December of 2019. That was supposed to be a home and away series. Oregon won that game by 1. And then they come back, and this game, Oregon was up by, I think, 5 points with less than 2 minutes left. And then Michigan has this guy named Doug McDaniel who is just an outstanding player. I think he's the Big Ten leading scorer or something like that. This kid has 33 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and he just casually walks up and just nails a 3, puts it into overtime. Oregon has a chance, and they can't get the shot off. And so it goes into overtime. Oregon ends up tie game. And then we'll show you the game-winning play here. All right, so this is the game-winning shot in overtime by a freshman. His first game. Dagger 3-point from way downtown. Leaves only 1.4 seconds left. The final heave by McDaniel, which was pretty darn close. And that is your game winner. Now, let's look at that again. Remember, this kid has been injured. He hasn't played for Oregon. This is his first game back. And this is what he does. Just a straight dagger from downtown. What an amazing shot to beat Michigan by 3 points. And that was Doug McDaniel right there, which was a pretty good shot. That was pretty close. So, all right, let's look at the stats here on this. Okay, so Michigan 83, Oregon 86. Oregon shoots 50% from the field. Michigan shoots 48%. And of course, this is still without Oregon's some of their best players. Both their centers are out, so Oregon's having played really short. 3-point range is Oregon shoots 62%. That's huge jump from where they've been. Free throws still a sore spot, but they both shot 66%. Oregon shot 12, made 8. Michigan shot, or no, sorry. I did that all backwards, huh? All right, well. All right, so Oregon shoots 41% from 3. That's about where they've been. Michigan shoots 62%. Oregon, 66% on the free throw. Goes 12 of 18. That's a little higher than they've been, actually, which is still a sore spot. Michigan goes 8 for 12. Rebounding, Oregon has the rebounding edge, and that's where they like to win games. They win games getting the rebounding edge, and that's where it's been really hard with Nate Biddle and Dante out. Offensive rebounds, 10 apiece. Assists, Michigan had 19 assists. Oregon had 11. Oregon gets 4 steals to 8, 4 blocks to 2 blocks. Oregon has 16 turnovers to Michigan's 9, and somehow they still pull out the win. That's kind of amazing. All right, so if we look at some of these stats, Doug McDaniel goes 12 of 21, 7 of 12 from three-point range. Has finished with 33 points. That kid's an amazing basketball player. That's just crazy. Let's see. We have, all right, so Shelsted. Man, I'm still learning this kid's name. He's brand new. He goes 6 for 13, 2 of 3 from three-point land. So that was only his second three-pointer that he made. Finished with 14 points, no bigger than that. Rigsby had 19 points, and Cousinard had 13. And then Aquindo had 13 coming off the bench. And Oregon shoots, again, 50% from the field, 62.5% from three-point range, and 66% from free throw. How is that stat different? This says 41%. I don't know. Either way, exciting game. That was what everybody was hoping for. And if you look at this here, Oregon leads by 3 at the half. And then Michigan comes back and they score. I mean, they basically switch, right? But Oregon gives up those last 3 points in the last minute of the game on McDaniel's 3-point. And then in overtime, still very close. Two very competitive teams. Oregon gets the win at home. And good for them. All right, so. All right, here we go. Back to this. So the Pac-12 title game happened. Oregon, again, comes up short against Washington in a game that, even though the score was very similar, ends in a 3-point game. I thought that Washington outplayed Oregon for most of this game. Except for basically the third quarter was the only quarter that Oregon really dominated. And, I have to say that, let me quantify this. I still think Oregon is the better team overall and is built to beat more people. However, Washington just wins games, and they're built specifically in this matchup to beat Oregon. I think if you play all these other schools, Oregon ends up with a better record than Washington if you play like the top 15 teams. However, I think 9 out of 10 times, maybe 7 out of 10 times that Washington plays Oregon, I think Washington beats Oregon because of the way they're built. I think this is also truth with Ohio State versus Oregon. I think Ohio State is built exactly like Washington is, and I think Ohio State beats Oregon more times than Oregon wins out of 10 times. Now, the problem is with Washington is they're built to beat Oregon, but Oregon's built to beat more teams, I think. And I think part of the problem is going to be for Washington is they're going to run into a Michigan and they're going to run into, or a Georgia. They're going to play one of those two teams, and both of those two teams are built to beat teams like Washington and Ohio State. So I think that's where Washington's going to run into. I think, again, they go 0 for 2 in the playoffs, and their season will be done. And that's just kind of my take on it. But like I said, I think 7 out of 10 times that Oregon plays Washington, the way they're built right now, that Oregon beats Washington 7 out of 10 times. I just think that matchup just doesn't work for Oregon. The speed that Washington has and their wide receivers on the outside, Oregon just can't defend that. They try, they put double teams on, they put brackets on, and it just doesn't matter. Those guys are just so fast, they get open, and Penix doesn't need a lot of room to hit that. Does Penix do enough to win the Heisman? I don't know, because if you look at the stats here on this game, is 27 to 39, 319 yards, 8.2 average, 1 TD, 1 interception, 8.7.8 QBR. And then Bo Nix goes 21 to 34, 239, 7-yard average, scores 3 TDs and 1 interception, and 88.9. I think Bo was leading Michael Penix going into this game, and I don't know. Michael Penix wins this game, so does that pull him even? Does that put him ahead? I really don't know at this point what they're going to do, because the way it was Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and Michael Penix. With Michael Penix beating Bo Nix, does that raise them all, put them on the same level? So now it's kind of a 3-way tie, or does Michael Penix jumps Bo Nix and win the Heisman? I don't know. I still think Bo Nix is a better overall quarterback, but nobody is as accurate as Michael Penix's long ball. Now, I say his long ball because Bo Nix, throughout the season, has somewhere around a 78% completion ratio for the season, which is a record. And Michael Penix isn't anywhere even close to that. Michael Penix has more interceptions than Bo Nix. And so, I don't know. I really don't know where they're going to go with this, but Michael Penix beat Bo twice, so does that give him the nod for the Heisman? I just don't know. As an Oregon fan, I hope not. I hope Bo Nix wins it and gives Oregon their second Heisman. He's been the best quarterback all year when he's not playing Washington. So, but like I said, Washington is just built to beat Oregon, and I think 7 out of 10 times that game is Washington's game, simply because of the way that they're built. Now, Washington manhandled Oregon's line, both of them, the offensive line and the defensive line, all first half. It wasn't even close. There was no push by the Oregon offense. There was no real pressure at all on Michael Penix from the Oregon defense, and Washington kind of just had their way. And for Oregon's luck or persistence or whatever, luckily they were only down by they only let Washington score 20 points. It could have been a lot worse, especially with that first field goal but. That being said, Washington outplayed Oregon all but the third quarter. I think Washington was more physical on both the offensive line and defensive line that whole game. It was really hard to watch as an Oregon fan, to watch them do what they do to other teams and then to get into that game and just come out flat. Oregon was not ready to play the first half, and they spotted Washington 10 points. If they had been able to keep up and even hold that down to 7 points, this is a tie game going into overtime, and who knows. But again, Washington made the plays they had to make, and Michael Penix makes the long throws that he has to make to move them down the field, and then Oregon could not stop the run. And so, yeah. And Bucky and Irvington held to a season low, 9 carries for 20 yards. I'm not sure what happened in the last 2 games, but I don't know if he's injured or what, but he's just not been able to get on track the last 2 games. Jordan James was a little better, 5 carries for 35 yards, but Oregon only had 20 rushes, and 6 of those were Bo Nix. But that just goes to show you that Washington dominated, their defensive line dominated Oregon's offensive line, and they just couldn't get anything going. Tez Johnson gets 5 receptions for 68 yards. I believe that puts him at over 1,000 yards for the season. So Oregon, for the first time in years and years and years, has 2 1,000-yard receivers. Troy Franklin was a non-factor in this game, 4 receptions for 34 yards. Of course, he got hurt. But Oregon offense first half just didn't show up to play, did not execute. Bo Nix was a little off, but the rest of the offense was also off, and it showed. the third quarter, Oregon came out and they showed what they were used to doing, and then Bo Nix just couldn't get it done in the fourth quarter. Had a drive there that stalled out and had to punt, and that was pretty much the dagger. Then they just couldn't stop Penix from scoring again. So, got to give it to Washington. They beat Oregon twice. They're the Pac-12 champions, but unfortunately for Washington, is they're going to have to go and play Georgia or Michigan, and both of those teams are built to beat teams like Washington, and I don't see them getting a win in the playoff, which makes Washington 0-2 in the playoff, makes the Pac-12 1-3, I think, in the playoffs, and the Pac-12 is no more. Going back to basketball, Oregon is still a ways out with their guys coming back. I think at the end of December, Dante can be reevaluated, and then at the end of January, Nate Biddle can be reevaluated. Dante being out with a month, I'm not sure he comes straight back. He'll probably need a couple games to work his way in. And Nate Biddle, when he should be able to come straight back once he's cleared, but we'll see if those guys are the same or if they just miss too much basketball. But with that, we're at her today. So we're still rooting on the women's volleyball. They move on to whatever the next round is in volleyball, the round 3, whatever that is. I don't even know. But they play Purdue. Hopefully they keep winning. The men's basketball, see, their next game is... Their next game... I don't know when their next game is. Why don't you show me the next game? Okay, here we go. They play on the 9th against UTEP. And then the 12th against CA Baptist, maybe California Baptist. I'm not really sure. And then Syracuse on the 17th. So, I forgot about the bowl game. Oregon's not sure where they land yet. A lot of people thinking it's Fiesta Bowl. The thing about that is Bo Nix hasn't decided if he's going to play yet. He was pretty non-committal after the bowl game. I don't really blame him. He was kind of dejected that, and I understand that he wasn't thinking about whatever bowl game they're trying to play. So this might be a very interesting bowl game if Bo Nix decides not to play. There may be a few other people that also decide not to play, and that leaves Oregon a completely different team. And without an opponent, who knows? But with that, we're out of here for now. Much love all. We will catch you next time.